What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. Today, I want to give you my review for the latest Shudder original movie, and that is Brooklyn 45. And this tells the story of a handful of World War II veterans who gather together for what they discover is a seance. And it turns out not only have they unleashed some supernatural ghosts, but also some ghosts from their very own past. And Brooklyn 45 is a little bit lighter on the horror. I would describe this movie as more of a dark, intense, dramatic thriller with a little bit of horror mixed in. But I'll just come right out and say it. This was a pretty pleasant and unexpected surprise for me, as I quite enjoyed this. And I went in, as I do with the vast majority of movies, knowing as little about it as I can. I seen a couple of the promo images that came out and knew just sort of a vague general synopsis. And just based on what I knew, I didn't really have very much expectations for this. It didn't look like something that was going to exactly be up my alley, but I like to review the Shudder original films, and so I thought, what the heck, let's give it a shot. And as I said, this was a pretty unexpected surprise. I think this is a really solid effort. Now, in terms of its presentation, Brooklyn 45 takes place in Brooklyn, New York in December of 1945, right after World War II, and the entire thing takes place in one room. One living room of this guy's apartment, as you've got just a handful of characters who have been friends for their entire lives, and they're just coming together to kind of reminisce and catch up and also talk about the war. And I am a sucker for these types of films, movies where you really just get a small cast of characters and you're able to execute an entire movie just in one single location. And that type of presentation, it just reminds me of a stage play. This would make, I think, a really incredible stage play. And it's just amazing what, given good writing, good performances, and a good story, is able to do to keep your attention, to keep the tension filled throughout the entire 90-minute runtime just in this one location. And the first few minutes, they're all kind of gathering together, and just the relationships are being established, and the friendships and the connections are being established, and the film kind of starts, developing the characters a little bit. And then you realize one of the characters just recently lost their wife, and he cannot deal with the grief. And so he reaches out kind of for his last grasp of hope to do a seance to try to reach out to her. And it was at this point that I was still a little bit on the fence with this, as one of the promo images, you see this like ghost hand reaching out of the table, and that image, it just kind of looked a little cheesy and corny to me. And during this scene, it felt like they were trying to intentionally sort of create this sort of dated special effect look. And I got a bit of sort of like Twilight Zone vibes during this part. And then something happens, and I'm going to be extremely vague for the rest of my review, but once that happens, I was pretty much hooked and sold, as this thing really takes, I think, a pretty unexpected turn and becomes something that I did not see coming. And I was just really impressed with Brooklyn 45 throughout the remainder of the film. It kept my interest, it was compelling, it was engaging. It maintains a pretty heightened level of tension and just intense drama throughout the entire runtime. And it goes to some unexpected places. It had some genuine surprises and twists and turns that I did not see coming. And I think they do a good job with the characters, and they're well kind of thought out, fleshed out characters. And it goes to some unexpected places, and it deals with some interesting themes, namely prejudice and kind of preconceived notions and suspicion and friendships, and can you ever really know your friends, and how well do you really know them. And there's just some lines in the movie too that I think were kind of thought-provoking and just they kind of go a little bit deeper than just sort of the surface level that kind of were thought-provoking and got me thinking, which I appreciated as well. Now, being that this is a film that is trying to say something, has a little bit deeper of a message, I never felt that it had some sort of agenda that it was trying to push, or it didn't feel overly preachy. And so I appreciated that. I think it could have used a little more subtlety or complexity regarding one of the characters, as some of the kind of moral, ethical boundary lines are drawn and are made kind of very black and white. I wish it would have operated a little bit more in the gray area and made you, as the viewer, a little more conflicted in understanding why people are saying or doing the things that they're doing. But that's more of a minor complaint. But like I said, I really had a good time with this. This was just a pretty unexpected surprise. I think that there are some comparisons that could be made to one of my all-time favorite movies, 12 Angry Men. This obviously isn't as good as that. That's an all-time classic, but there are some similarities. It just creates a very compelling and engaging and pretty surprising story with some just great unexpected moments, some good characters, and just some real solid prolonged tension that I just really had a good time with. Also, too, the ending I think is pretty shocking and unexpected. I was definitely surprised. I did not see it coming. Again, the ending also too has something to say about how everybody and anybody can become corrupted, and I'll just leave it at that. But man, I was just really surprised. I think this is a really solid effort. I think if any of what I said piques your interest at all, I would highly recommend you check out Brooklyn 45. I think that this is going to be one that's going to be kind of one of those hidden gems that people need to check it out. I think it's really, really solid. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10 for Brooklyn 45. So highly recommend it. If you have seen it, please hit me up down below. Let me know your thoughts. Would love to hear from you. That's all I got for you. Like always, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. It's all horror and thriller movie content coming at you here. And I'll see you next time on The Haunted Beard.